I'd like to welcome everyone to the annual Mayor's State of the City Address. Thank you for all coming. What a great crowd. It's very exciting to have all these people here. I think there's a lot of good things ahead for us today. This is sponsored each year by the Salem Rotary Club, the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce, the Salem City Club, and in cooperation with the City of Salem and the Office of the Mayor. My name's Jim Bauer, and I'm president of the board of the Salem Area Chamber of Commerce. Before we move forward, let's take a moment and thank the West Salem High Jazz Band. It's a wonderful performance on their part so far, and I hope that we'll get one more shot at them in here in a minute. They are one of the top bands in the Northwest, and this is another example of what a special place Salem is, that we can have this kind of quality program. These are the kind of music programs in our community that win Grammy Awards, that do extraordinary things and build our state and our community. So it's just great to have them here. I'd like to thank Jamie Hall, who's the director. Having them at the State of the City Address has been an event over the last 40 years. They've always been here. Right now, I'd like to welcome Karen Wood, who's a chaplain at Willamette University, and she's going to come to the podium and lead us in an invocation. Karen?
Thank you, Jim. Good afternoon, friends. I invite you to join me in an attitude of prayer or meditation. Spirit of love and life, God of our being and our becoming, be present here, we pray, as we strive to be good stewards of this city. Be present here, we pray, as we work together for the common good. Be present here, we pray, as we contemplate the things that make for peace in this city of peace, our Salem. Be present here, we pray, as we celebrate our past, engage our present, imagine our future. May we together create welcoming community, supportive schools, thriving commerce. May we together uphold those in need, endowing each human life with dignity and worth. May we together strive to build a city that values all who live and work herein, and may we all know peace. We ask this in the many, many names by which we know you. Amen.
Thank you, Karen. As usual, lovely. It's great to work at Willamette University and work with people like Karen. Right now, let's celebrate the country we're in and take a moment to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's time to recognize a few people who are here today. I'd like to recognize people at the head table: Kara Kaser, who's a new city council person, Tom Anderson, Brad Nanke, Steve McCoy, Matt Ossick, Jim Lewis, of course our mayor. I'd also like to recognize, we have 3 county commissioners in the audience: Sam Bertano, Kevin Cameron, Craig Pope. Now we have 4. All the county commissioners are here. Also like to thank Chuck Lee, who's in the audience, and Chris Brantley, who are school board members. Steve Vickies, who's the president of the Salem Rotary Club. Alan Pollock, president of the Salem City Club. Also recognize Salem First Citizen, State First Citizen, Oregon First Citizen, Jerry Frank, who's here today. So thank you all for coming. If asked directly, I bet everyone in here imagines that there is a way in which they serve Salem. Many people serve Salem in ways that are part of a club or an organization. They might serve in their church. They might help their neighbor. Even buying locally in Salem serves Salem. But serving is a choice, and serving is important, but leading is also important. Leading requires time. Leading requires a willingness to put forth a best effort over and over again. A helpful leader serves and serves and serves, and he serves or she serves with others who are always serving. Leaders are called on to drive the opportunity that comes from combining the effort of all the people that serve. I'm here today to introduce to you the new mayor of Salem, Chuck Bennett. Chuck Bennett has made a choice to serve, and he has made a choice to lead. Chuck grew up in Opportunity, Washington, and he attended Progress School, and he lived on Best Road. So he should be here, probably. I mean, frankly, if you have that kind of pedigree of where you came from, you ought to be doing something. You ought to be leading something. He's currently employed as a government affairs representative that supports public school leaders. He's represented Ward 1 for 8 years. He and his wife, Sherry, live in Salem in Ward 1, and they have a daughter, and he has 2 grandchildren. Chuck's an Anglophile. He likes to go to England. He loves the culture of England, and sometime you want to get him talking about something interesting, he'll tell you about the trips. And frankly, if you're heading over there, you ought to talk to him before you go. He's a graduate and a proud graduate of Willamette University. Chuck has served as a state representative. Chuck has owned and operated his own business. He worked as a professional reporter and a newspaper editor at Staten in Woodburn in Salem. He served as president of the city council. He served on the library board, the cultural and tourism promotion advisory board, the Salem budget committee, the planning commission, the state council of humanities. He served on the Pinnacle Theater board. He was a founding member of the Friends of Opal Creek, and he's an avid playwright. His work has been produced at Linfield College, McKay High School, and the Northwest Playwrights Workshop. So we need to pay attention because he might be writing about us. So keep your behavior within the bounds so you don't make it into a play. So Chuck is the right person to lead Salem today because he has spent considerably more time and energy and effort gathering experiences and knowledge, and he's done that more than most people around him. He has his eyes wide open for our city's challenges, and he has the courage to address the challenges and the courage to call to reach a decision, even if the decision isn't popular. Chuck wants Salem's best work to be accomplished, and he has demonstrated through his efforts that he will work with citizens and bring good things to our Salem. You, me, we made a decision to elect a champion for what is possible. We elected Chuck because he serves and he leads. Please join me in applause in welcoming the new mayor of Salem, Chuck Bennett.
Well, good afternoon. This really is a thrill. I can't tell you, just to see so many people, so many friends, so many people I've worked with over the years who are willing to come out, spend $20, have lunch with me, and see what I have to say about Salem and its future. I really want to thank first the West Salem Jazz Band for the musical interlude as we got together. Thank the City Club and its president, Alan Pollock, the Chamber, its president, Jim Bauer, and also the Rotary Club, President Steve Ickes. To do this every year, I think, and give the mayor a forum and the councilors with him a forum to talk with you about the state of the city is just a tremendous opportunity to see, I think, by your applause. So we do have the applause meters working today by what you think should be the kinds of activities the city's involved in. First, I want to tell you how the city is viewed as an institution by our residents. I think sometimes that's helpful. 92% of our residents are satisfied with our city services. A couple of statistics inside that 92%. Among age groups, the highest satisfaction was among residents under 35 at 95%. And the highest group of all rating their satisfaction with the city was Latinos at 98%. So as you think about the city, and I'll tell you, as I think about the city, these numbers make a tremendous impression on me. there's a batch of people here who make that possible, who are the leaders as well as the employees of the city of Salem. I'd like to again introduce a few of them. Jim mentioned our city councilors. I think it's worth doing it again because it's here on my speech. And I rarely vary from a script. Kara Kaiser, Ward 1, Tom Anderson, Ward 2, Brad Nanke, Ward 3, Steve McCoy, Ward 4, Matt Osick, Ward 5, Jim Lewis, Ward 6, and our dear friend and colleague Sally Cook couldn't be with us today, and we're still waiting to find out who's going to fill the seat in Ward, 6 we're looking for? What? 8 now? 6. Oh, Jim's 8. Okay, Jim, I'm sorry. I also want to take just a moment to especially recognize former Mayor Anna Peterson. Anna, if you'd stand up. Anna. Mayor Peterson has been an inspiration. She's been the leader of the council along with Mayor Janet Taylor while I've served on it. Aside from these great people to work with, I really want to thank Mayor Peterson. There's others I think you ought to know are here, and if you haven't met them before, I want to introduce you. Our city manager, Steve Powers. Our deputy city manager, Casey Duncan. I know you all recognize Casey from his broadcast of Salem Connections, one of the finer online TV shows. Congratulations, Casey. Are you up for a Peabody this year? That's right. Also, our department directors, Dan Atchison, city attorney, Peter Fernandez, Public Works, Glenn Gross, Community Development. Glenn has 44 days left, but who's counting, huh? Mina Hansen, who runs our Human Resources Department. Jerry Moore. I'll talk about Jerry here in a few minutes, but our police chief. Jerry gave me one of my throwaway lines today, so I'm very excited about it. Krishna Namburi, who is in charge of information technology. Mike Niblock, our fire chief. Kristen Rutherford, director of the Urban Development Department. And Andy Wilch from the Housing Authority. These folks, along with 1,353 other city employees that include firefighters, police officers, public works workers, 911 staff members, attorneys, planners, IT professionals, librarians, support staff, and many other specialists and generalists, are the people who every day bring their talents to bear on serving the citizens of this community. And that's why we have a 92% satisfaction rating with our community. We're very, very proud of them. I also want to thank, of course, again, our commissioners, Sam Brentano, Janet Carlson, and Kevin Cameron, as well as County Administrative Officer John Latimer and Deputy County Administrative Officer Jan Fritz for being here today. Thank you very much. And by golly, Craig, you made it across the bridge today, huh? Craig Pope from Polk County Commission, as well as Chuck Lee from the Salem Kaiser School Board, and one of my employers, Christy Perry, Superintendent of Salem Public Schools, outstanding leader in our profession. Thank you. And finally, the introductions are never over without introducing my wife, Sherry, who makes my participation possible. So Sherry's way in back, and hi Sherry. This is a time of just tremendous opportunity in Salem. I had an opportunity to attend an economic development forum this morning put on by SVN, and it was remarkable. I couldn't take notes fast enough, and I'm not going to share them all with you today. But suffice it to say, it is a moment of opportunity in this community. It is a chance, really, to experience an economy in really phenomenal growth. We currently have less than 5% unemployment, with steady job growth going on in this community. That means 4,000 more jobs exist in this community than existed here last year when Mayor Peterson spoke to you. Land use applications are up 25%. There's been an $80 million increase in building permit values. That's an annual increase of 36%. The $25 million Henningsen Cold Storage Project at Mill Creek Industrial Site is scheduled for completion this year. Pac Trust, just this morning, I did make one note, announced a new industrial development project planned for Mill Creek Industrial Park that in 3 phases over the next few years will add 500,000 square feet of new industrial space in 6 new buildings. At the Oak Grove facility adjacent to the new state police building, there is another 100,000 square feet being built. And that doesn't fill the need. That's what's so exciting about all. So any of you thinking of building yourself a quick slap-up industrial building, you're in the right business at this point. This kind of economic activity is being experienced throughout the community. I just can't, again, I want to tell you how important this growth in these various sectors are. It's in agriculture, it's in the industrial sector, office space, and multifamily. In every one of these areas, we're seeing the opportunity for growth because the demand is so high in this community. At the same time, Salem's fiscal condition could not be more solid. We will have a balanced budget, and it's because we have just flat out excellent financial planning from our leadership at City Hall. It's forward-looking with an infrastructure investment strategy that helps to keep pace with the kind of development we're talking about. Our bonded indebtedness continues to keep our bond rating high, with tax payments at around $1 to $1.25 per thousand for all of the projects that go on in this city related to the city. Our healthcare system, through a network of providers and a nationally recognized hospital, has recently partnered with Oregon Health Sciences University, is outstanding. We could not be in better hands. And then you add the whole network of providers in this community. Our water system, unlike so many other communities in Oregon, is both safe and bountiful. Salem's artistic and cultural side is in a renaissance with the addition of new live theaters, restaurants, music venues, and a batch of new visual arts opportunities. We've added substantial park acreage to our system and look forward to more. And I want to make just one promise today. Before I leave this office, I don't care if it's next week or next, you are going to walk across that Peter Courtney Bridge down at the river. That bridge will create over 20 miles of continuous walking and biking trail through one of the largest urban parks in the country. Just the past few days, we've learned of 180 units of affordable housing to be built out on Portland Road. The city is moving forward with its own 50-unit affordable housing project at the old nurses' dormitory, Yaquina Hall, out on the North Campus at the State Hospital on Center Street. 40 units are planned for Front and Court Streets, and Mountain West has completed both phases of the South Park Block apartment complex at the old Boise Cascade Mill site with 178 housing units. You have to have lived here for 50 years to appreciate what I just said. That old mill site is now a housing complex. That is remarkable, just a remarkable event. Looking citywide, there are numerous multifamily and single-family housing projects underway or near completion. Vacancy rates, as I mentioned, are at new lows, and construction is at new highs to meet that demand. But I don't think you elected me mayor to come here today to hear a catalog of activity and happy talk. So let me tell you what I see as the direction for the next year, and what I hope we, your city staff and council, can accomplish and set in motion as we build on this opportunity I described for you. I want to talk to you first a little about economic development, because I think that is our major job. We have to remain focused on jobs. You don't get 4,000 new jobs by accident. It takes focus. And as I said, well, let me just say that at 4%, we're doing quite well. We're going to try to drive that down lower. I plan to work closely, and I know the council will as well, with all and city staff, with all parties involved in our economic program, including the state's Business Oregon and Regional Solutions, our own Urban Development Department, SEDCOR, Travel Salem, the Chamber of Commerce, and especially our local financial community. The challenge is coordinating these groups, making sure the investment the city, state, and private sector make is effectively aimed at our goals for this community. Economic development in Salem has been a strong public-private partnership. We do our best when each of us understand the direction we're going and the expectations we have. In Salem, we focused heavily on existing businesses and their stability and expansion. We also have been willing to participate in new opportunities. We must be certain that we're getting the biggest bang for our investment. At the same time, we can't overlook that kind of infrastructure that makes us shovel-ready now and in the future. Roads, water, sewer. But we also must look over the horizon with a solid understanding of the needs we face as an economic center. I'm thinking in this case of the need to upgrade the electrical distribution system in parts of the city where it clearly doesn't meet the needs of likely development. And throughout the city, we need to make sure that we have a well-designed and placed broadband system. In transportation, it's a huge part of our infrastructure. And the challenges it poses are really going to affect our economic development and planned and anticipated residential growth. We must plan now for another round of investment in our streets, bridges, and sidewalks. We're walking on sidewalks in many parts of town, particularly the one I live in, that are getting close to a century old. And I use the term walk with reservation. Our system will always be in a state, our streets rather, will always be in a state of repair, improvement, and expansion. That is going to require us to begin looking forward to the next bond measure on this issue. As we develop denser housing and business activity in high-rises, accessory dwelling units, or apartment houses, we're going to see a greater demand for transit services. We're far behind meeting that needed service fundamental to any modern city. I've begun meeting with representatives of the Salem Kaiser Chariot System, the Transit Board, and have mapped out a plan with them to take action on that shortfall. It involves, thanks, there's the applause. It involves all parties concerned it needs to have a due date for outcomes. In fact, let me say right here, if you hear me use the term study or task force over the next year, just haul me up on charges as a kindness. We don't need a study. We need a plan of action. And over the next several months, we can take the opportunity to reverse what has been years of neglect in that system. And the action just can't be raising taxes. It also needs to be a full, reasonable look at the service and whether the current model meets our mass transit needs. Just so you know, I have my own prejudices here, okay? I still like the idea of a rubber-tired trolley that travels between the Capitol Mall and downtown. I'm still fascinated by that idea that Janet Taylor brought us. I think it's one we should at least try, so I'll bother my friends at Transit with this dream of a rubber-tired trolley. I've also called upon the City Council to take another look at bringing ride-sharing services to this community. That's Uber and Lyft. Thank you. Now, I'm going to stop here for just a second, though. I wasn't anticipating the help on this I received yesterday from our police department. Chief Moore, I thought you might have had some concerns about ride-sharing, but after yesterday's ride-sharing use of a police car, I can only say, I want you to understand, my plan is not to turn your car over to the driver, it's to drive them where they need to go. So thank you, Chief. Chief, thousands of cities worldwide have this service, and after 50 years here, I've seen nothing that makes Salem so unique that it can't allow our residents access to this state-of-the-art, moderately priced, highly convenient, and by the way, job-creating transportation service. And just to add to improving service by cars for hire, I'd recommend that any change in the ordinances to allow Uber and Lyft be extended to our cab companies. The City of Bend has figured this one out. They have a ride for hire ordinance that includes rules for Uber, taxis, those people you see riding around on where it's a guy serving drinks, you know, they're riding the bicycle, pedaling they have rules for that, and they've added horse-drawn carriages. Now that's forward-looking. And let's talk a moment about that bridge. For those of you who spent an hour or two yesterday, I want to just kind of give you some thoughts on that. That's the one we've talked about for at least the past 45 years. For the past decade, Salem, its two counties, Kaiser, the state, the federal government, and interested, affected community volunteers have studied the location and environmental impacts of another bridge here in Salem. We're on the verge of completing that study. We're not building a bridge. We're not asking voters to approve taxes or tolls for a bridge. We're not even designing a bridge. What we're doing is making a statement that the imaginary connection between Pine on the east and Hope on the west is the location for a bridge, and that it would meet a huge list of environmental, social, and economic requirements, and most importantly, the transportation needs of downtown, East, and West Salem for years to come. And I won't even talk about economic development. It's a license to allow our community someday, some bright morning, to meet the transportation issues we're facing. Let me offer a historical lesson here, just to kind of give you a sense of what I think's going on. Salem has been a forward-looking city since its first building was erected up the street near Boone's Treasury at the intersection where High and Liberty become Broadway. It's been particularly good at infrastructure. Look at our streets. Market leading out to the orchards. State to the Capitol and prisons. Church, well, to that big church downtown. But what a row there could have been when the time came for Ferry Street. I can hear it now. Salem already has two ferries, at Dokes and Wheatland. We don't need a third ferry. Besides, who's going to live over there on the west side? Well, the decision was made in 1846, 13 years before statehood, to add that Salem ferry. In that same era, our forefathers had the good sense to claim most of the water in the North Sandiam River and give us a source that will last another 100 years. I really hope, a future mayor and council can look back and thank us for having the same foresight. We also must face the need for a new police station. That need, let's sort of get to the theme here. That need's been on the books since 1981. We operate in these decade-long cycles of decision-making. That was less than 10 years after City Hall was built. By the way, when City Hall was built, it took 2 votes because they tried to underbuild it the first time. This past November, voters turned us down. The plan we had would have met city needs for 50 years. The plan now appears, and I'm going to use this, and I know my council colleagues will, I'm not trying to get ahead of you guys, okay? I really am not. The plan now appears to go back out with a plan that meets at least 30 years of police department growth and a change that would cut the price tag by almost $20 million from the original 82. But the list of public safety issues involving city buildings just doesn't end there. We also need to begin thinking about new fire equipment, replacing the seriously outdated and really dilapidated public works buildings. By the way, these are the people, as I mentioned public works, we often hear about those of us who are at City Hall or over in the library. The people who will keep the water and sewer working and bring out the trucks to clear the rubble from the streets if the big one ever hits are in those old dilapidated buildings right now. So think about, pray for your public works department. I often tell Peter I'll make sure I do that during any speech. Pray for the public works department. Then there's City Hall and the library, both built before modern seismic standards were adopted. A plan is under consideration to go to voters within the next year or two with a measure to revitalize and secure these buildings and give them another life of 40 years. Now, it's only 45 or so on this one. This is a real opportunity, I think, to build for the future. But I'm going to share that one again with you, I think, in next year's State of the City message. I'd like to talk to you for just a minute about housing and the homeless. I think this is, for me, a personal matter. I feel quite strongly about it personally. We face a housing shortage here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Listening this morning, our vacancy rates are a vacancy rate driven by people moving from apartment to apartment or apartment to house. It's just the vacancy it takes to keep people moving and have a place to store their stuff. I will include on my list of things to do weekly a call to the Community Development Department 45 days from now, Glenn, to see how rapidly we're turning around the paperwork it takes to build a house or apartment building in this town. I also will work with the city and council to pass an ordinance allowing so-called accessory dwelling units, impolitically labeled mother-in-law units, as soon as possible. We also need to revisit the house sharing ordinances and determine if there is a way for Airbnb and other online house sharing programs to operate in Salem successfully without creating problems in otherwise stable neighborhoods or unfairly competing with our hotel-motel industry. Perhaps the most vexing problem, though, that cities face has been housing the homeless. Solutions around the country and even in nearby cities have been essentially to declare defeat and decide that it is acceptable to have these residents live in tent communities in the public right-of-way, parks, and neighborhoods. We're not following that path. I hope we can have a better vision here in Salem. 3 weeks ago, I asked our Housing Authority Director, Andy Wilch, to come up with a program to house the most difficult people in our community to house. He and his staff met with me Friday and presented their work product, and I have to tell you, I'm very excited about this project. Remember, these are the folks who have already moved about many hard-to-house people off the streets this year, referring to the Housing Authority. I missed a comma there, I apologize. There are estimated to be in excess of 500 people on Salem streets in this category. These are the homeless that we most commonly see sleeping on sidewalks, park benches, in parks, and under bridges. These are the most difficult people to house from among our estimated 1,500 to 2,000 homeless people in Salem. And these are also the most vulnerable among the homeless. This is a very complicated issue, but let me tell you what we will begin doing in Salem as a result of this work by Mr. Wilch and his staff, I hope will make you proud of both our ability to solve a problem and our humanity when we solve it. We're going to initiate a homeless rental assistant program, which will serve as the first pilot program in Marion County, which we will be coordinating with an outstanding plan I hope we will talk about again at some other venue related to homelessness, led by Janet Carlson and Anna Peterson, our homeless initiative, which is a spectacularly broad and thoughtful plan I hope you will all notice, and we can talk more about. But put simply, this plan, the Salem plan, we are going to find these people a room, a house, or an apartment. We are developing a sophisticated data file on every homeless person inside Salem to begin to better serve their needs. We'll provide case management services in health, mental health, addiction services, and life skills. Many of these people are in very serious health conditions. Many are suffering from untreated, often severe mental health issues, and a very large percentage are addicted to drugs or alcohol. Again, these folks are the hardest to house among our homeless people. And we will continue to work with these clients aimed at long-term housing. Frankly, it's time to recognize that compassion without action is just merely observation, and the time for study of this issue is long past. We have the resources. It's not going to raise your taxes. We're not going to take it away from the police or the fire or the library. This is marshaling resources that already exist. The expertise is there. We don't have to hire new people. All the expertise exists among our staff as well as our collaborators in this effort, and will be led by the city and its partners to focus on this issue. We've set a goal of housing 100 of these until now hopeless, and I really mean hopeless cases. Please don't leave thinking this isn't an aggressive goal. These are absolutely the hardest cases on the street. You've probably met some of them if you've taken a moment to stop and speak to them. There will be a temptation to retreat from this mission. If we can stick it out, we can save and change lives that are now considered hopeless. I hope you'll join me in this effort. We also will be pursuing state and local funding to open a sobering center long sought by our police chief and needed to relieve the use of the hospital emergency room, the most expensive sobering system in the universe, I think, and the county jail, which is absolutely an improper use of our county jail. And I expect that plan as early as today. And I'll be sharing it with the chief, and we'll be talking more about it. We at least are getting a good feel for what that's going to look like. I can't tell you how much I applaud the work of the Salem Housing Authority and Andy Wilch for taking the time to be asked a very difficult question and come up with a straightforward answer of action. And finally, I want to talk with you about downtown for a minute. I represented it. Kara now represents it. This is just a gem, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. There's almost nothing like it among cities our size, and certainly not in Oregon. Over the next several years, there will be substantial amount of urban renewal funds available for projects aimed at economic improvement downtown, accessibility, and then just general improvements to the infrastructure in that part of town. I want to mention a couple of projects I'm looking at, which I think we can take directly off the planning shelf and make happen. But let's look just for a second at downtown as the retail center of our community. Retailing, and I know you sometimes think, am I being just too obvious? But I'll try this. Retailing has changed from when Mr. Frank's family was initially in retail. It's changed tremendously. The challenges for retailers are real. This is a major sector of Salem's economy. They face real challenge. It's our responsibility to make public investments that will bring shoppers downtown. Shopping, for many, is an experience. It's not, you can tell how I'm dressed. I take shopping kind of like something I have to do when Mrs. Bennett pokes me out the door. But I'll tell you what, I love coming downtown to do a lot of other stuff besides shop, and so do a lot of other people. They enjoy the experience of it. You want to just buy something? Pull out the cell phone and call it up. It'll be there within a few days. Downtown has to be a destination of its own. We have to make that kind of investment in it. And I'll tell you, Salem has taken a huge step in that direction, just so you kind of have a feel for where we are and where we're going. We have created, counselors before us, as well as this group, Riverfront Park, the bridges to Minnow Island and Wallace Marine Park, connecting it up, the carousel, but there's so much more we can do downtown. Here's a couple of the projects I want to mention to you, and if you don't like them, call me up and tell me, or tell Kristen Rutherford. It'll really be her problem. I just throw this stuff out. Kristen gets stuck with the hard work. I really, really, really want to complete two-waying State Street. I've been on the council for 9 years, and to tell you how successful you can be as a city councilor when you get your mind set on something, I've gotten 2 blocks. I've gotten all, and I've been told, you're lucky. Thank you, say thank you, Chuck. So thank you, Peter, for my 2 blocks. But I'm mayor now, so, and it's good to be mayor. So we're going to try to complete the two-waying of State Street from Riverfront to Willamette University, and as part of that, begin a streetscaping effort in consultation with local businesses and building owners that both improve the ambiance of downtown and therefore its attraction to visitors and our own residents who, like me, want to experience shopping, not just shop. We're going to add something special down there. I'm also asking there be a review with Court Street residents and building owners to create another streetscape section of downtown. We have the opportunity right now. Did I mention opportunity in this community? It's very exciting that we can do these things. I also hope, I see my commissioners here, fellas, and Janet. Janet and fellas, I'm sorry. I want to complete the agreement and work on a farmer's market on the north side of Courthouse Square, including a year-round cover facility. Thank you, Kevin. Sam, you with me? These projects are part of our overall strategy downtown, which includes 600 housing units, additional parking, ongoing property improvement loan programs, and more aggressive property acquisition strategy to encourage further development. This is a long-term joint effort of public and private investment that has kept our downtown historic and an active market center with 4 department stores and hundreds of shops. And finally, I have already given you an outline of direction for homeless and our streets, sidewalk benches. That's part of the process. Finally, flooding. Just because it's raining again today, I thought I'd just bring up the water. We have been working for years on flooding-related issues in this community. The council last year agreed with me. We needed to work further on this. We have severe problems out on Battle Creek. It brings it on down to Mill Creek, and we start seeing flooding down by the old Duck Inn. I mean, it's just sort of like this whole thing is a system. Our Public Works Department, again, has completed a survey of one of the major watershed systems in this process, the Battle Creek system, and has done, I think, has done a great deal of work. We have work going on out in Turner, and we need to begin figuring out how do we control this water? What is wrong with whatever it is we're doing? And it appears to be in part nature, just the nature of it. I live on 16th Street, just above D Street. And during the 96 flood, my wife and I were thrilled to discover we live on the hill because it all stopped at D Street. I'd always thought that North Salem was flat. I was all wrong. So we're going to work on that. Salem also has been a leader nationally in the community rating system, which has resulted in a 25% discount on your flood insurance. We are going to do more on this. The federal government, we're going to be working with the federal and state government as well. This is a major potential problem for this community. It's one we don't talk a lot about. I'll just bring it up. We're looking at potential massive increase in flood insurance if you can get it in some of our most beautiful old neighborhoods, in parts of town where people don't really realize they're sitting in a floodplain. We have some work to do, and we're going to be working on it. So I want to just summarize, I guess. Over the next year, we're going to seize this opportunity of a strong economy and create jobs, build houses, expand businesses, complete the bridge EIS, find homes for the homeless, deliver a balanced city budget, beautify further our downtown, improve our streets, begin work on a new police station, and cross the bridge at Minto Brown Island Park once and for all. And I promise you that from my office at City Hall, you'll hear a clear statement of objectives, a willingness to listen to others, acceptance of criticism, and a spirit, I'll pray. Thank you to the chaplain. Where are you? Thank you. Pray for goodwill and optimism. And with that, I really want to thank you very much for coming out today, and let's leave here today looking forward to our next year together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. And so we actually have a couple of minutes, and I think we have 2 or 3 mics in the audience. So, and we have people, and so we're going to open it up for a few questions to Chuck Bennett. Would anybody like to raise their hand and ask a question? Perfect. No. Somebody has a question here.
That moment of optimism just
Okay, there's a who's going to pull that mic? There we go.
I've been very concerned about the amount of raw sewage that's being dumped into the Willamette River. You mentioned flooding, but what can be done to increase the capacity of our infrastructure so that we're not continuing to contaminate that beautiful river?
Yeah, a very, very good question, and I'll just I have talked with Peter about, because I realized that just downstream from the outflow is State Senate President Peter Courtney's home, and I thought that ought to catch their attention, that we ought to be very serious about this issue. This has been an ongoing problem. It is particularly difficult to deal with the amount of storm water we deal with and our aging infrastructure, which is improving. So when I talked about flooding, and I really was talking about that really large issue of how to manage the amount of water that flows down into the bowl here, and that's really what's doing it. And it's going to take some real work, some public investment. You all have been extraordinarily peaceful and cooperative with increases in stormwater, water, sewage rates. These are the kinds of funds that we can use to manage this, but it is a capacity issue. But one we believe, I think, is manageable without some sort of huge investment in our wastewater treatment plant at this point. I know we will look for a less, expensive solution. But thank you, because I think we all get disturbed when we read that it really is one thing I can assure you, there's lots of dilution out there. There are a lot of other people going through the same problem out there, and we're getting enough water at least down the system to leave it diluted. It's during the non-use period of the river, but thank you.
Any other questions? One question more. Okay, no one's leaving until there we go. Superintendent Perry, thank you. Uh-oh.
Mine isn't a question, it's just a comment. I want to just say thank you for a continued partnership on the part of the city with the school district. As the school district spans across the entire community, we have 65 sites. The cooperation that we got from Mayor Peterson, now to you, I know will continue. So I really don't have a question, but just a thank you to the city, because every time we come to you, you look at ways to be cooperative and helpful, both within the city and the county. So thank you.
Thank you.
So very quickly, I think we need to give one more round of applause for Mayor Bennett. Thank you. As we leave, remember, good people are here who do good, and we have to make a conscious choice to serve Salem. As we walk away, we want all these good things to happen. It needs to happen through our effort and our investment in our time and our treasure and our talent. And nothing moves forward without people like you who participate in what we need to make Salem a better city. I'd like to thank Salem City Club again, Salem Downtown Rotary, our colleagues at Salem Chamber of Commerce, all the people who have come here today. Let's go make Salem a great place. Thank you.